Argon Co et Supply Chain Village sont fiers de vous présenter ce nouvel épisode, la mise en place du S&OP, utilité, bonnes pratiques et facteurs clés du succès, avec le retour d'expérience de Xavier Morelon, Head of Supply Chain chez Servier et Franck KAKAL, partner chez Argon Co.
Welcome, listeners, to this new episode of our podcast series, The Place to Be for Insights into the Dynamic World of Life Sciences Operation Transformation. I'm really happy to be with you today. I'm Franck KAKAL, partner at Argon Co France. I have 15 years of experience in supply chain transformation, specifically in the life sciences industry. Today, we'll focus on a key strategic process of any supply chain, which is the sales and operation planning, or S&OP process. I'm delighted to be joined by Xavier Morelon, a supply chain professional who will bring his experience and unique insights to our discussion. We'll unravel the story behind the project that we worked on together a few years ago to implement S&OP at Servier, a French pharmaceutical company. So get ready for an exciting conversation that will reveal challenges, innovation that drove this key project for the company. Good morning, Xavier. How are you doing?
Good morning, Franck. I'm fine, thanks, and I'm really pleased to be with you today.
Thank you again for joining me today. Before we get started, maybe can you please introduce yourself and Servier to our listeners?
Yes, sure. So I'm Xavier Morlon. I'm chemist by training, not an expert of supply chain at the really beginning. I have worked for Servier for 20 years now. I had several positions in the company, starting with quality, manufacturing, and supply chain on our main production site in France first. Then I've been appointed as a general manager of a production plant in Russia for 3 years, and I joined the HQ 4 years ago to take this position, head of supply chain. As I said, Servier, and as you mentioned, is a French pharmaceutical company. We are an independent group governed by a non-profit foundation. We are distributing our medicine over 115 countries, and they generated last year a revenue around 5.3 billion euro, thanks to the commitment of the 21,400 employees. Mainly known as a leader in cardiology, we have the ambition to become a renowned and innovative player in oncology. Over 20% of brand name revenue invested in R&D each year allow us to sustain our vocation, committed to therapeutic progress to serve patient needs. And our vision is to make a meaningful social impact for patients and for a sustainable world in 2030.
Great, thank you, Xavier. So let's start. I suggest we explain what were the main challenges you faced before implementing S&OP. How did you decide to start such a project?
The list could be really long, but the real start is coming from a crisis that our group faced 4 years and a half ago. And this crisis was the opportunity to understand that something was going wrong. And if we are trying to organize the main point, we can manage them in 2 big parts. The process first. We did not have any solid process at this time. A process existed for industry, by industry, with industrial teams only. Our ability to detect problem was really low, and we were, I would say, reacting each time in front of a crisis. No consultation, no arbitration with our main stakeholders. Everything was urgent, everything was important. As main consequences, we had a mix of shortages, overstock, poor service level, unsatisfied customers, and complaints from our patients as well. The second bucket was the organization, the skills, and the people around the process. We understood that we had a lack of coordination and alignment of the different functions to serve the best interest of the group. And it was really difficult to collaborate between functions having antagonist objectives. Speaking different language, and we had to move from volume for industry to euro for sales and finance. In addition to that, majority of our collaborators were coming from pharmaceutical sector, which is not the most mature and advanced in terms of supply chain. So we opened the doors to skill people with fresh eyes on this particular sector.
Great. Really interesting to know about the initial point that was that you may have several departments with antagonist objectives. I think this is a really interesting point that is key in S&OP implementation, and we will come more into the details of that in our discussion. So now we know more about the what, the the why. If we move into the how, so how did you work this implementation? Can you explain maybe the step-by-step approach that you implemented?
Yes, sure. We had two major steps, and we started with an interesting one, pedagogy, pedagogy, and pedagogy. At the highest level of the company to explain that it's the best way to ensure the good operational execution of the group strategy. We explained the issues we faced and the solutions that were existing to identify, anticipate, and mitigate them before to be in front of such a crisis. Conscious that we had a lack of maturity of some function regarding the constraints of others, the real means they had to help others, we spent a lot of time to explain, to educate, and to listen as well. To succeed in collaboration, we have first to understand each other's. And it was the largest part of the buy-in session we organized with our XCOM, by the way. The second part, we launched a POC, a proof of concept, in a build and run mode for 3 months. This test and learn approach allowed us to demonstrate the added value of the process through concrete examples of the company, such as an unexpected business opportunity that we won thanks to internal discussions that led us to some prioritization, arbitration, and in some cases, reallocation of internal resources. Without this discussion, the industrial answer would have been simply not feasible due to some industrial capacity constraints. Finally, we did it on top of the rest.
This second point is really key. I firmly believe that that's the only way to successfully implement this kind of process. The test and learn model, it allows you to really accelerate the buy-in of the different contributors and also all the different stakeholders up to the top management of the company. Why? Because you are able to deliver value quite quick and increase gradually the maturity of the process. The idea is clearly here to duplicate the agile model that we usually used in any IT project, but here more to duplicate it into a business project. So we define a target process as a vision, as we usually do in any project. But then we move quickly into the execution of the monthly cycle, actually, and we improve the analysis, we improve the arbitration studies we do, and we improve the way we make decisions cycle after cycle. Besides the methodology, there are also some key success factors regarding the sponsorship of the organization, commitment to the process. Can you tell us how did you manage that?
As I mentioned earlier, we started with pedagogy at the top management level, and one key success factor is the clear endorsement by the XCOM, starting with the CEO that asked its team member to participate. And we had two quite important bullet points. The first one, mandatory presence of finance, manufacturing, sales, and marketing function during each process. Head of supply chain, having the clear mandate to go directly through the CEO if no compromise is found at XCOM level. In 3 years, I did not have to do it, and it's a great thing. It seems that when we have the opportunity to speak directly to the CEO, we are able to find some solution more easily. The second point, a robust process supported by a strong organization in terms of resources and skills. It's definitively time-consuming to gather all stakeholders, share information, and define actions plan. To be efficient, meetings should be prepared in advance to take decision and not have only discussion. Last but not least, rigor of execution, transparency, and fair presentation are key as well for all steps. We have a leader for each step: portfolio review, demand review, supply review, then pre-S&OP and S&OP. We have set up a dedicated position to orchestrate and ensure overall consistency of the process. This position is accountable as well for the strategic planning, and it's absolutely true that today it works because we have this chef d'orchestre. These leaders around me, around the head of supply chain, are the team in charge to present S&OP topic with a broad vision, favoring the best interest for patient and the group, having sometimes the difficult role to say no to the top management.
You know, there are a lot of people, when we discuss about S&OP, they are linking this topic to the planning tool topic. So maybe let's take your example. What tools or technologies have you used to facilitate S&OP, and how have they helped improve your operations?
Before to jump on the tools, perhaps I have to remind that it took us finally 2 years to roll out the process at worldwide level for our company by adding new markets through each new S&OP cycle. And currently, we are covering 85% of our businesses, and we are fine with that. I'm insisting on that because we did that without having too much IT tool at the beginning. For sure, we have an APS in place. For sure, we built some Power BI to ease team job. But what is interesting with this is that the absence of tool at the beginning has facilitated the implementation of cross-functional exchanges and sharing of information. I would say more communication than techniques. Looking for a single source of truth, the need for clean and accurate data appeared rapidly, and we benefited a lot from a project of data platform launched through a data and digital transformation program at group level. This is key as well, and it will be a game changer for the future, I'm sure of that. Automation was also one of our targets, to spend time analyzing and establishing an action plan rather than searching for the right information. For the future, we want to be better equipped, and we just started a program to replace our APS and our ERP on our main production site. Promising words and technology, let's see how we will be able to implement them successfully.
So maybe just to elaborate on what you just said, S&OP actually is a strategic process for managing the company business. It is not a tool. So really, we want here to implement a process that allows the organization to make the right decision with the right level of anticipation at the right level of the organization. So consolidating robust data and analysis. Of course, at the moment, the tool will become an issue. It will be limiting progress, but it doesn't have to be a showstopper to start the transformation. And we can start small, building additional reports, analysis, implementing basics of the process, and then improve the maturity of the process, leveraging new planning tools implementation, just like you are planning. And I think it makes also the change journey of the team really much easier. So maybe to move to be more concrete for our listeners, can you share some example where S&OP has helped to solve an issue or improve a situation in your company?
We have a long list of concrete examples now. If we want to focus, I do believe that finished product availability is the most important topic for both patient and our group. The example that I have in mind started 2 years ago. We faced an industrial accident in one of our production sites. Unexpected event, unplanned event. Through the S&OP process, we have been able to give more visibility to the company and to our customer of the potential impacts on short and medium terms. Having the same understanding of the situation and the consequences, it was easy, finally, to focus all the company workforces on the same objective. We have set up a proper action plan after many arbitration and prioritization. We even enlarged S&OP's team with the involvement of some colleagues from Regulatory Affairs Department to work with health authorities in order to have the right priorities. It was a lot of job in a really short period of time to ensure the supply continuity for the patient, and finally we succeeded to minimize shortages on the network. Nevertheless, this event had consequences on our industrial network, and the year after, last year, we suffered even more from a supply standpoint due to additional capacities constraints on the downstream. We projected major shortages for the full year, around 80 million euros related to the product, the family of the product. Thanks to the cross-functional process, the decision, the action we took together, we have been able to limit supply discontinuity for patients and losses for our company. At the end of the year, we estimated that 30 million euros have been protected through this way. It representing approximately 1% of our original drugs turnover. It starts to be significant, both in terms of number of boxes for patients and money for the company. And it's only one of the topics we had to manage last year.
Congratulations. let's get back to the transversality topic that you just introduced in the beginning of the podcast. So, how can we work together, some people with different objectives, and make them work together for the company? How has S&OP been seen by your company's stakeholders? And here I mean the other departments who are involved in the S&OP process, which is a clear transversal process, actually.
Yes, definitively. And as I said at the beginning, we were not so mature. Only industry was at the table of the S&OP process at the beginning. We were sure that we will have to involve sales and marketing and finance as well. We were absolutely convinced that speaking about volume will be not helpful. Speaking about money will be the key game changer. Industry was waiting for this process. We did not progress significantly, I would say, but today we are much more structured and demanding on some sense for demand variation, for instance. Sales and marketing function, clearly they had some doubts of the added value for themselves at the beginning. Now they are absolutely convinced of the added value. They are probably the most efficient stakeholders, asking for always more visibility, working on forecast accuracy a bit, progressing a lot on bias. And last but not least, finance department, they were really interested in since the beginning, and even more when we succeeded to switch from volume to value. Waiting now for some progresses on stock management. We are quite weak at this point, and even if we said that tool is not everything, it's really helpful to have an end-to-end vision of the network and to take the best decision to place the right stock at the right time.
So finally, success to gather all these departments together around this process. Maybe a key question I'm sure the listeners will be really interested in. What benefits has the S&OP brought to your company in terms of performance?
I would say two kinds of elements. Some that are quite difficult to measure. Intangible event, I would say. Transparency and a common understanding of issues that today are keys to smooth significantly internal relationship between functions. And then the collaboration is easier. Performance and profitability came and are coming with trust only. For the tangible things, we are able to demonstrate now much more launches of product on time, satisfaction of our customer, shortages and turnover losses reduced by 3 in 2 years before the industrial event I mentioned earlier. It's representing 1 to 2, 3 additional percentage of secure turnover to the company.
Okay.
It's also quite significant.
Yeah.
You can justify additional resources with such amount of savings. Better allocation of human and or financial resources for the global interest of the group and not only for one function. I believe also that we have better resilience of our decision over time due to a more robust decision-making process based on facts, accurate data, and with a more complete view compared to the past. It seems to me important to precise that our performance increased despite the context of COVID pandemic. After an industrial accident we never faced before, despite the geopolitical context we all know, and persistent tensions on global supply we are facing, like the Red Sea event, for instance, currently. One area for improvement is probably, as I said, on stock management. To justify its strong need in front of financial team, whatever the reason, or simply to optimize company cash flow. More than ever, Franck, I believe strongly that S&OP process improvement is a never-ending story. And we are continuing on our journey.
So we discussed about the implementation of this project, how the methodology and the results brought by the process. But we all know that the journey to implement this kind of process is not so easy. Were there any expected lessons or surprising discoveries you faced during the implementation?
Yes, it's a tricky question. Franck, I would say we have several examples that could be a good answer to your question. Each function, even the more reluctant at the beginning, found finally an added value and are now participating actively. We were hoping for such a situation. We didn't expect such a result. Today, all actors are deeply involved at all hierarchical level, in addition to the function, I would say. And we have regular backup in place for the meeting. We have regular question on minute when people didn't participate to the meeting. This is some proof for us of the added value of this process for the company. And to be totally honest, we didn't expect such a level of involvement at the beginning. The consequences of that is that this process became a place to exchange and share on some other topic. And today we are dealing sometimes with topic without direct links to the S&OP sometimes. Meaning that finally people found in this area a place to solve the issue or the difficulties they are facing. Something, it could be a kind of joke with you. We were advised by you to start with the rules and only then to play with the S&OP game. We did not listen and we learned that nothing can be taken for granted. We started with the S&OP, we didn't start with the rules, and finally we faced challenges on the rules and even sometimes on some decision, especially if they were not written. So definitively it was not expected, and I do believe that we lose some time for some topic according to many discussions because the rules were not clearly defined at the beginning.
So sorry, just to precise, when you say the rules, you're meaning like the ways of working between the different partners in the company, right?
Absolutely, and on top of that, we can speak about a service level agreement with the definition of the forecast accuracy, the frozen horizon, the minimum order quantity, the different lead time we will be able to manage in the future.
And to commit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this was missing. We were used, as I said, to consider everything at the same level. Everything is important, everything is urgent. By adding rules through a service level agreement, we did some progress, especially for some tricky topic. Back to the antagonist objective we mentioned, when it starts to be tense, it's good to have a frame in order to better manage the exchanges of the different between the different functions. And last but not least, S&OP is quite popular within the company and not within the function that are dealing with. The supply chain is visible, and we have been nominated for an internal award by HR department in the category of collaborative process.
Wow.
So it means a lot for us. It's perhaps the best recognition we could expect for our teams and for us.
All right. So thank you for this return of experience on the project. So yeah, you just said that the journey is not finished, and now you're expecting some progress for the S&OP still coming in the coming months and years. So what are clearly the next steps?
First, it's a key process, as I said, for the company now, and I believe that it will survive even if the team in charge will evolve in the future. This is really important because it's a process that could be person-dependent, and we have absolutely to avoid that. So I believe we succeeded to stabilize the process and not just to rely on people. We need to strengthen our pillar around digital, data, and IS. In addition to the good level of our processes and organization we have today, I believe that it will be the way to speed up the investigation, the analysis, the implementation of the action plan as well. And we are speaking about life of patient. We want to grow in oncology, and tomorrow it can make a huge difference to be speed, to be fast or not. On the short term, a real end-to-end vision needs to be achieved to progress more with the stock management, as I told you already. I believe we are not yet at the level of basics, and we are targeting best-in-class result for the group. For the mid and long-term perspective, I'm looking for more automation, and why not? GenAI could help us as well to accelerate and increase our global performance by providing some hypotheses, scenarios, options that we need sometimes a lot of time
to investigate. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We are getting to the conclusion of this podcast. Last question, what advice would you give to other companies considering implementing S&OP?
In addition to work with Argon Co, you mean?
Yeah, of course.
Start to convince your top management. You need to have a strong sponsorship. If you do not have, don't start. Start with the rules, like service level agreement, as we mentioned, and then implement your S&OP. You will save time and you will progress more rapidly. I believe strongly that as head of supply chain, if you are in charge of the S&OP process, fight for resources. It's a demanding process, needing a strong, skilled, and reliable organization. Don't start if you are not able to support the process.
And in addition to that, one key success factor is really to make sure that we still have the same commitment of people after we switch from project mode to run mode. And it's really relying on having the right people in your team with dedicated time, putting the right effort so they can monitor we still have results cycle after cycle. It's basically the role of the S&OP leader.
More than agree. And you mentioned it already, Franck. Do not hesitate to start fast with a build and run approach. Concrete examples in value are better than theory coming from the books for main stakeholders.
Thank you very much, Xavier, for sharing your highly valuable experiences and expertise. I think this project was a great success in the collaboration of our both teams to drive a positive change in your supply chain and really make a difference. Thank you to you all, listeners. Get connected to Argon Co and Supply Chain Village if you want to know more about this topic. Bye-bye.